So I'm Eric Mintz. I am a professor of biological sciences at Kent State University, where I also serve as Associate Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. Kent State is in Northeastern Ohio.
What advice would you give to stay motivated and engaged throughout school?
When you're in an individual course, sometimes you think that maybe, how is this going to help me later in life? That question comes up a lot. And these things, they do in surprising ways. So I have found that you will call on the things that you have learned, even in, completely unrelated courses, unrelated to what you end up doing. That kind of background knowledge base is really one of the most important parts of a college education. And if you go on to higher education for a master's or a doctoral degree or a professional degree, you may find that there will come a time when you're just tired of being in school. This may happen more than once, but each time you kind of have to find a way to reground yourself and maybe think about maybe if you have a little bit of time off. And I think it's really important for motivation to make sure that you don't become sort of singularly focused. Like, you have to have that balance between the things that help your brain relax, and so that you're not 100% focused all the time, and you give yourself some recovery time. And that can help people stay motivated and engaged.
What does your research focus on?
Most of my career, my research has focused on the neurochemical mechanisms that are responsible for setting the timing of that internal circadian clock. But as we've learned more about how that clock functions, I've kind of branched out into some of the physiological consequences of what happens when clocks are disrupted in some way. So, for example, right now, there are students in my lab who are studying how restricting the timing at which an animal can eat to certain times a day, think of it like a model of intermittent fasting, like people are doing now, can impact on physiological functions. The one we're focused on is a female reproductive system. And then the other thing that we're focused on in my lab is actually how a class of chemicals called endocannabinoids can affect the timing of the circadian clock. And so this is the system on which exogenous cannabinoids like tetrahydrocannabinol from marijuana, cannabidiol, CBD, how these types of substances can impact on the timing of circadian rhythms. And so those are really the two major foci that we're working on right now.
What type of opportunities are there for undergrads in your lab?
So right now, this summer, there are 3 undergraduate students who are working in my laboratory. They work both independently and in concert with graduate students who are working in the lab. Actually, there's always more students who want to do research than we can accommodate at any one time. And what they can do is they usually come to the lab first as volunteers, and then they may move on to do research for credit, or in the case that I have right now, I have some grant support for students as research assistants.
How did you choose your field of study?
So when I was a sophomore in college, I took a course called Animal Physiology. And the course was taught by a faculty member by the name of Dr. Robert Lynch. And he studied how circadian rhythms were involved in regulating seasonal adjustments in animals. So seasonal changes in body weights. In the case of these were Siberian hamsters. So they have a seasonal change in the color of their fur, and other sort of changes in how the circadian clock regulated those things. And I thought that this was really interesting, and I really liked him as a teacher. And so I asked him if I could come do research in his lab. And he actually, the first thing he said to me was, no, not now, but come back in the fall. And that's what I did. And that was it. And then I got started in the lab, working primarily with a postdoc in the lab. And I spent 2 years, including the summer after my junior year, doing research. And I actually, for me, that was the most valuable thing about my college experience in terms of career development, was that opportunity.